Welcome, graduates, high school graduates, and all other graduates, parents, teachers, administrators, coaches, pastors, and community members. This year we did not want to leave you without a faith blessing as you cross the threshold of graduation. Tonight we're sharing with you via live stream what we would have done in our church building. Included in our service tonight is myself. I'm Reverend Karen Gigax Rodriguez, the pastor of the Federated Church of Green Lake. Kurt Kaufman, a 2013 graduate of Green Lake High School and a current Central Baptist Theological Seminarian coming to us from Colorado. The Reverend Carolyn Dugan, who is a member of the Federated Church of Green Lake, also former camp director at Camp Tamarack, and she has her own ministry called The Pastor in the Pasture. We're going to have John Schneider with us, who is the leader of our praise band, and Andrew Rodriguez, a 2018 graduate of Ripon High School and member of the Federated Church, is helping to produce this. Mr. Rogers always believed that there was holy ground between him and the child or the person sitting on the other side of the camera. Tonight we seek the blessing of the Holy Spirit to create this holy ground between the basement of my house to your places in which you are watching in your own homes. This Baccalaureate has been created with much love. And now I'd invite Kurt to share the message he's prepared for you.
Good evening, good day, good season of life, friends. My name is Kurt Kaufman, Green Lake High School class of 2013, University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh class of 2017, and Central Baptist Theological Seminary class of, well, who knows. It's an honor to be with you in this truly unprecedented time. And if you're anything like me, you're about ready for things to be precedented again. Strangely though, I'm sort of used to this time being relatively unprecedented. As I recall correctly, the last time I offered a baccalaureate message, the power went out and we were all concerned about a tornado. This time, though, is different. This time, I'm in front of a camera at home because I can't be there in person with you. This time, there is no graduation ceremony. There is no event to look forward to that caps off your 12-plus years of education. And there are no pictures with friends after the ceremony, just as there aren't any in-person graduation parties. This time, it feels a little bit like we're lacking the celebration. And as of late, it just feels like that too often. You as a class have faced insurmountable challenges already, and will continue to do so as time goes on. The world around you has put immense pressure on you to solve the challenges facing all of us today, a challenge that will only continue to grow. Although this has happened, you all have responded to the current challenge in a way that has truly inspired us all. You have responded with grace and with kindness, with a laugh and with a smile. You have responded with deep sacrifice that many of us have never had to make before. And to that end, I want to echo what so many others have said in virtual commencements and graduations as of late. Thank you. Thank you for giving up the things that so many of us have taken for granted, including myself, in order to help and potentially save the lives around you. Without this sacrifice, we could see so much more loss in the communities that we are a part of and the communities that support us, the communities that, as things get back to normal, will be the support that all of us need to get back on our feet. And if there's anything good to come out of this situation, it is that community. It is the community that rose out of adversity, that continued to exist when it was difficult, and that continued to support us when we needed it the most. These communities, friends, will be the most important thing that you have, even when all of this is over. The world may and will probably look different when we come out of this. College may not be the same, jobs may not be the same, our plans definitely won't be the same. What life will look like after school was likely a concern for many of you before the pandemic, and now it's just that much worse. In case you needed validation for your feelings of stress, anxiety, or concern, you just got it. And if I could share just one piece of wisdom that I've heard a number of times but am still trying to actually embody, it's that there's always time for change. Whatever decisions you make now, whichever directions you head in the weeks and months and years to come, there's always time to change that. As I head back to school in an entirely different field a measly 2.5 years after graduation from college, I realize now that the decisions I've made in the past to get me where I am were not a mistake. Although they do feel that way at times. Rather, they give you character, they give you skills, and they give you a motivation to be better. Whatever you decide to do next, friends, is up to you. And whatever it is, though, know that your community around you that has been strengthened by this challenge is with you all the way, as is God. Ephesians 4 tells us to live a life worthy of the calling you have received. Be completely humble and gentle, be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. May this be true in your lives as you venture forth from the four walls of your living space once all of this is over, and into the rest of your lives. Oh, and don't worry about that first part. It might take a while to figure out what that calling is. And that's okay. There's always time for change. Be blessed, class of 2020, and congratulations.
Thanks so much, Kurt. It's really good to see you and hear from you. Now I'd like to introduce you again to the Reverend Carolyn Dugan, and she is sharing a message that she has prepared for you. Thanks, Carolyn.
Good evening, graduates, and thank you for letting me be a part of your baccalaureate service tonight. My name is Reverend Carolyn Dugan, and in May of 2016, I graduated seminary with my Master's of Divinity, so I somewhat recently know what it means and feels like to graduate and to end this accomplishment and everything that goes along with that. So tonight, I'd like to just share a couple of thoughts with you as you are on this journey, this path, and this moment in time. So there's a company that I like called Zox, and it's spelled Z-O-X. It was started by three brothers several years ago. And why do I like this company other than the bracelets that they make? And I may have already purchased a few of them. They have a compelling story. They call these bracelets limited works of art for your wrist. Again, they're family run. They have these inspirational sayings inside each bracelet, and they're very philanthropic. Every order provides a year of clean water to somebody who needs it, and they do that through something called the Thirst Project. And I just wanted to share a couple of these bracelets here. This one is called Make It Real. It's a picture of an astronaut, and it's a reminder that sometimes things are daunting. But you need to overcome those challenges, and how do you do that? Another favorite of mine is this one, and it's called Make Mistakes. I tend somewhat to be a perfectionist, and it's a reminder that not everything has to be perfect. It's okay to make mistakes. This one is a lighthouse, and inside it's called Keeper, and it's about shining your light out in the world based on the book of John in the Bible. The one that I'm wearing today is a peacock, and inside it says Be Beautiful, and it's spelled B-E-Y-O-U-T-I-F-U-L, and it's a reminder for me to be who God created me to be, that we are all unique and beautiful in our own way. So every day I pick a different one to wear, and there's an inspiration there and a story that sometimes only I know. Not everybody sees the bracelets or understands that there's a hidden inspiration inside each one for me. Your overarching story right now is eclipsed by this pandemic. This graduating class will always be remembered for this event. Each of you have your own individual story. Maybe there have been some disappointments with sporting events being canceled, theater, musicals, music, band, classes, jobs, friends, and just overall not being able to be with one another in community. But there may also be some joys that come out of this time with being accepted to the school of your choice or getting a job that you really wanted already. Some people maybe weren't looking forward to dressing up for prom and you didn't have to. Plus, most of us have been able to stay in our jammies and do work or classes this last part of the semester because we've been doing it all from home. So you got to be comfy there. And it's okay during this time to be sad, to be excited, to be nervous, and to be unsure. And maybe you're doing all of these things at the same time, and that's okay. What I do know is that in Isaiah 49, it is written, "See, I have engraved your name on the palm of my hand." Your name, your story is written on God's palm. God knows who you are. Just like another group who didn't really have control of their circumstances, the Israelites led by Moses out of Egypt into the promised land. Each day God provided them manna, some sustenance, a fire at night and a cloud by day to lead their way. And you don't always see that, but it's there. I know that God continues to provide manna and sustenance as you move forward. Graduating class of 2020, may you find your passion, your mantra. May you continue to be sustained and find your path in this time. And as the 11th Doctor from Doctor Who says, we are all stories in the end. Just make it a good one. Grace and peace to you as you graduate, class of 2020.
Thanks, Carolyn. And I wanted to share a personal story with you. A story about when I was in high school. I had just begun high school when an event happened that would change the course of my life forever. I had just crossed some line of adolescence where I began to challenge the rules of my home and the voices of authority there. I was walking the road of a defiant teenager when one morning my mom collapsed in front of me, having suffered a heart attack. When I was confronted with the very real possibility of her death, something in my soul stood up and demanded attention from me. This was a threshold moment for me when God opened a doorway to faith. During a tragic time, I got in touch with the deep reality of soul. One of the many lessons came in the form of a seed thought planted in my head by what I believe was the voice of God. The thought, the only thing that matters is the love you give and the love you receive. To this day, I can remember sitting on my rocking love seat, anxiously pondering what I would do if my mom did not survive this incident, and having this thought speak in my mind. The only thing that matters is the love that you give and the love you receive. Love giving, love receiving is the basic message of the Christian faith. This is what God wants to strengthen within us through our entire lives. It actually begins with receiving the truth that we are loved, that you are loved. I'll never forget an 11th grade social studies teacher who was Jewish and who taught us about IALAC and family. An IALAC was an acronym, IALAC, and it stood for I am lovable and capable. He wrote that on a sheet of paper, IALAC, But he said there were always times when people would tear away at the truth that I am lovable and capable. And he started to tear off corners and parts of his sheet as he told some stories about his life. And pretty soon, all of the Ialac was in pieces. But then he said, we know that it is love that puts the pieces back together, and love that restores our Ialac. Another day, he showed us pictures of a family wedding. I was so impressed by the love I saw in those pictures. I came up to him after class and asked him, how could I know that kind of love in my own family? My family didn't even say those words, and they were shy about hugging and shy about all kinds of demonstrative things meaning love. And I was hungry to know that kind of love. This was a couple years after my mom's first heart attack, and he suggested that I write her a letter and just say in the letter, I love you. So I did. I wrote a letter and I left it on my mom and dad's bed. And sure enough, a couple days later, on my pillow on my bed, there was another letter addressed to me where they told me they loved me. And that was a beginning. It would be wrong on my part as a local pastor to not reaffirm to each one of you how much you are loved by God and how much you are loved by your family and this community. That's why I really like this passage from Ephesians. Paul writes, for this reason, I kneel before the Father, from whom every family in heaven and on earth derives its name. I pray that out of his glorious riches he may strengthen you with power through his Spirit in your inner being, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith. And I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have power, together with all the Lord's holy people, to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Christ, and to know that love that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled to the measure of all the fullness of God. Your next steps become your own. As President Obama shared in his 2020 graduation speech, you are now